What happens when two powerhouse women collide live on national television and one of them refuses to back down? Today, we're diving into the explosive moment that stopped viewers in their tracks. Jennifer Lopez, Whoopi Goldberg. One stage, one clash, and a conversation that hit deeper than any talk show was prepared for. This wasn't your typical celebrity interview. This was raw, unfiltered. Real. Make sure you hit subscribe and drop a comment below, because trust me, you won't believe how this ends. The studio lights were blazing hot that Tuesday morning as Jennifer Lopez took her seat on The View. She came ready to talk about her latest film, her upcoming tour, and maybe even drop some wisdom about life in the spotlight. What she didn't expect was to walk straight into a storm at the head of the table. Whoopi Goldberg had that look the one longtime viewers knew meant trouble. Quiet. Glances were exchanged between co-hosts. Something was coming. Jennifer, Whoopi began, voice calm but firm. Let's talk about your recent comments on working mothers in Hollywood. You said something I found ... interesting. Jennifer adjusted in her seat. Composed, controlled. I shared my experience balancing motherhood with career demands. I think it's important women support each other in that. But Whoopi leaned forward, eyes locked. Here's my issue, she said, sharp now. You talk about the struggle of being a working mom, but you've got nannies, assistants, a team. How can you relate to the single mother working 2 jobs just to survive? The air went still. You could feel it. Jennifer took a breath, steady. I've never claimed not to be privileged. But emotional challenges don't vanish because of money. Missing your child's milestones. Whoopi cut her off with a scoff. Oh, please. You're talking about bedtime stories while flying private. Meanwhile, some moms can't even afford bedtime stories because they're working night shifts. That's tone deaf. Jennifer's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed even. I think you're misunderstanding. I wasn't comparing pain. I was saying guilt and struggle come in all forms. Even success doesn't erase that. Whoopi leaned back, a smirk creeping in. So missing your kids while filming a blockbuster is the same as missing your kids because you're bagging groceries till midnight? That's your argument? The tension cracked through the studio like a whip. Even the co-hosts froze. Jennifer met her gaze, fire rising now. That's not what I said, and you know it? What I said was all working mothers wrestle with guilt. I never claimed my situation was hard or just real. Are we only allowed to talk about pain if it fits a certain income bracket? Whoopi's eyes narrowed. When you have a platform like yours, maybe think twice about how your words land. Maybe consider that what you call a struggle isn't a struggle to most women watching. Jennifer didn't flinch. So because I've made it, I should stay silent. I should pretend the guilt doesn't exist just because someone else has it harder. That's not solidarity, Whoopi. That's silence dressed as shame. Whoopi laughed, but it was cold. You want to talk solidarity? How about starting by acknowledging your privilege? Really acknowledging it instead of playing victim. The room fell silent. Even the hum of studio equipment seemed to pause. Jennifer's heart was pounding, but her voice, calm, measured, unshaken. I acknowledge it all the time. What I won't do is apologize for being honest, for saying it's hard being away from my children, even with help. And if that makes you uncomfortable, maybe that says more about you than it does about me. Whoopi's face hardened. Excuse me, she said, voice low. Jennifer leaned forward now, unblinking. You heard me. That was the moment. The air had changed. Lines were drawn, and the internet exploded. Some called Jennifer brave. Others called her tone deaf. Some praised Whoopi's call out. Others said she crossed a line. But one thing's for sure, this wasn't just TV. This was a reckoning. So now, we ask you, Was Jennifer right to defend her experience? Did Whoopi have a point? Sound off in the comments. Hit like. Hit subscribe. Because in a world where every word matters, this clash reminded us that truth doesn't come without fire. And sometimes, the sparks are exactly what we need. Asterisk about me. Jennifer turned to Whoopi, gaze locked and steady. It says more about you than you realize. It says you'd rather tear down successful women than support a real conversation about working mothers. It says you only recognize one kind of struggle and everything else is invalid. And that's not just limiting, it's dangerous. The co-hosts stirred nervously. One finally spoke up, voice tentative. Ladies, maybe we should, but Whoopi sliced through the air with a glare. No. Let her finish, she said, eyes never leaving Jennifer. I want to hear what else she thinks she knows about me. Jennifer took a breath. This was the moment. She could smooth it over, walk it back. But something inside her refused. I grew up watching you stand up for women, she said. You were the voice of reason, of courage. But right now, you're doing the opposite. You're using your platform to shame another woman for being honest about her life. That's not the Whoopi I respected. Her words hit like thunder. Whoopi's expression flickered shock, then steel. Your truth, she snapped. Your truth is whining about private jet problems to women who can't even afford gas to get to work. Your truth is self-indulgent and tone-deaf. Something broke inside Jennifer. My truth, she fired back, is that I love my children. And I hate being away from them. That guilt that doesn't disappear because of what's in my bank account. And if you can't see that's a universal emotion, then maybe you're the one out of touch. Whoopi stood so fast, her chair screeched behind her. How dare you? You come into my studio and call me out of touch. Do you have any idea what I've lived through? What I've fought for? Jennifer remained seated, but her voice rose with conviction. I do. That's why I'm so disappointed. Instead of using your fight to lift others up, you're turning it on me, on a fellow woman, because I don't fit your definition of struggle. The room exploded, shuffling chairs, producers waving frantic hands off camera. But it was too late. The line had been crossed. Whoopi's face was flushed with fury. She jabbed a finger across the table. You don't get to lecture me about disappointment. You sit there in designer heels and think that makes you an authority on womanhood. I was fighting for women before you knew what a camera was. Jennifer rose slowly to meet her, face to face. Then act like it. Stop tearing me down for sharing my story. If you really care about working moms, start building the conversation instead of burning it to the ground. The cameras were still rolling. Every second of this showdown captured. The producers tried to cut to commercial, but Whoopi waved them off like a queen swatting away her court. This wasn't about privilege anymore. It was personal. Whoopi's voice dropped to a dark, biting tone. You know what your problem is, Jennifer. You think because you've sold a few records and made some movies, you get how the real world works. But you live in a bubble, and that bubble has made you blind. Jennifer's composure slipped just for a second. My problem, she said, is I came here expecting a conversation between two professional women. Instead, I'm being scolded like a child by someone who thinks she's the only one allowed to have an opinion. The co-hosts looked stricken, desperate to intervene again. Maybe we should all just take a breath, one offered, but Whoopi snapped around to her. No, we're not taking a breath. This is exactly the conversation we need. Jennifer wants real talk. Let's talk. She turned back to Lopez, fire in her eyes. Let's talk about how you've reinvented yourself more times than Madonna. And now you want to cry, struggling mom? Please. Jennifer's anger was raw now, reinvented. You mean grown, adapted, Refuse to stay boxed in by people like you who think they get to decide who I'm supposed to be. People like me. Whoopi's voice cracked, rising. You better explain that, Jennifer, because it sounds like you're about to say something you'll regret on national television. The air was electric. Dead silent, Jennifer blinked but didn't back down. I mean people who use their platforms not to lift others, but to gatekeep womanhood, to shame, to belittle, to silence. The screen fades to black cut to commercial. But by then, the moment had already gone viral. Jennifer's voice was calm, but the fire underneath it simmered. I'm talking about people who think they're the gatekeepers of truth. The ones who decide who's allowed to speak and who's not. People who've forgotten how to lift women up instead of tearing them down just to feel taller. Whoopi laughed a sharp, slicing sound. Oh, that's rich. Coming from someone who spent her whole career being whatever man she happened to be dating wanted her to be. The audience shifted. The jab wasn't subtle. 'Twas personal. You want to talk about authentic? Whoopi leaned forward, voice low and cutting. Let's talk about how you changed your entire persona every time a new man entered the picture. You want to preach empowerment? Start by owning that. Jennifer's face went pale, then flushed with rage. How dare you bring my personal life into this? How dare you reduce everything I've done to a dating history you read in a tabloid? You don't know what I've lived through. I know what the world knows. Whoopi's voice rose with bite. You've been married how many times now? Had more public breakups than some people have birthdays. Eh? Don't sit here and talk to me about authenticity when half your life's been a performance for the cameras. Jennifer stepped forward, her hands trembling, her voice steady, deadly. My personal life is not your playground. And it sure as hell doesn't disqualify me from speaking about motherhood. But I see what you're doing. You're trying to humiliate me to win an argument. And in doing so, you're dragging my children into this by attacking their mother. That's low even for you. Whoopi stiffened, her jaw clenched. Low for me? Girl, you don't know me well enough to talk about what's low. What's low is sitting in my studio, in my chair, and accusing me of not knowing how to support women when I've been doing just that for longer than you've been famous. Jennifer's voice hardened to steel. What I have or don't have is irrelevant. What matters is that you're using your position of power to silence another woman for sharing her truth. You're proving exactly why so many women stay quiet, because this is what they get when they don't. Whoopi threw her head back and laughed bitterly. Silence. Oh honey, if this feels like bullying to you, then you clearly have no idea what real women's face in the real world. This isn't bullying. This is accountability. Jennifer didn't flinch. Her reply cut clean through. No, this is grandstanding. This is you hijacking the conversation so you can play the righteous host. This is you making a spectacle out of someone else's story and, in the process, exposing who you really are behind all that wise mentor talk. The words landed hard. Whoopi's face cycled through emotions before landing on something cold. Dangerous, who I really am. She whispered, let me tell you, I'm someone who's earned this seat. With decades of work, with scars you haven't even imagined. I didn't dance my way here. I bled for it. So no, you don't get to come in here and lecture me about struggle. Jennifer recoiled slightly. It felt like a slap. Manufactured, her voice broke, but only for a moment. Is that what you think I am? Is that how you dismiss 25 years of my work because it doesn't look like your kind of success? Whoopi sneered. I see someone who's had every advantage, every door opened, and still acts like the world owes her sympathy. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. Her voice was ice now. No, you see what you want to see. You see what fits your narrative. You can't admit that maybe you're wrong. You're out of line here. Whoopi slammed her hand on the table. The studio jumped. Out of line. This is my line. This is my show, my table. I decide what's out of line. The room descended into chaos, co-hosts speaking over each other. Producers motioning frantically, but Jennifer's voice sliced through like a blade. Your show, your table, your rules. Got it? But you know what you don't control? The people watching this. The millions who just saw you attack a guest for being honest. The ones who saw you use your power to belittle instead of build. Whoopi's eyes blazed. Her voice shook. Silence you. Girl, if I wanted you silent, this interview would have been over 10 minutes ago. You're still here, aren't you? Still talking? That's not censorship. That's education. Jennifer's voice exploded. Educate me. By bringing up my exes? By mocking my life? That's not education, Whoopi. That's character assassination. The words hit the studio like a bomb. And for a moment, everything stopped. Even Whoopi went still. Whoopi's face turned crimson. Her voice dropped to a dangerous low. Assassination. Did you just accuse me of character assassination on live television? Jennifer didn't blink. She met Whoopi's stare head-on. If the shoe fits. The studio went dead silent. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of the meltdown. The other co-hosts looked frozen like passengers watching a car crash in slow motion, powerless to stop it. Whoopi stood rigid, her chest rising and falling with controlled fury. Then she spoke, voice cold as ice. You know what, Jennifer? This interview is over. Jennifer didn't move. She stood her ground, chin high. Is that what you do when someone pushes back? You end the conversation. You shut it down. When it stops going your way, Whoopi's voice climbed. I shut it down when my guest forgets where she is and who she's talking to. I shut it down when someone comes to my table and disrespects me in my own house. Jennifer's voice cut through, firm and direct. I haven't disrespected you. I've disagreed with you. I've defended myself. I've refused to be bullied. If that feels like disrespect to you, maybe take a long look in the mirror, ask why being challenged shakes you so much. It was like throwing gasoline on a live wire. Whoopi snapped. Her composure cracked. Her voice surged. You want to? Talk about the mirror. She shouted, pointing directly at Jennifer. Look in the mirror and see someone who thinks her fame gives her the right to waltz in here and tell me how to do my job. Look in the mirror and see someone so entitled. She mistakes critique for cruelty. Jennifer held her ground. Steady despite the chaos. This isn't about celebrity, Whoopi. This is about basic human decency. For the last 20 minutes, you've been tearing me down instead of engaging in the conversation we were here to have. Whoopi scoffed, her laugh bitter. Human decency. Don't come on my show and call me a bully because I ask tough questions. The co-hosts started murmuring, trying to steer things back, but it was too late. Neither woman was listening to anyone else now. The cameras caught it all. Jennifer's voice cracked not with fear, but disbelief. Tough questions. You brought up my personal relationships. You questioned my authenticity. That wasn't journalism. That was a hit job. Whoopi began circling the table, jabbing a finger at Jennifer. Everything's personal with you people. You don't want accountability. You want applause. And the moment someone holds a mirror up, you cry victim. Jennifer's face went still. Her voice dropped low. You people. What do you mean by you people, Whoopi? Because it sounds like you're about to say something you shouldn't say on national television. That landed like a slap. The irony, the callback to Whoopi's own standard hung thick in the air. Whoopi hesitated, but only for a second. I mean celebrities who live in ivory towers. People like you, who show up and try to hijack my show. With your narrative, Jennifer stepped forward, toe-to-toe with her now. Narrative? The only person spinning one here is you. You turned a conversation about working moms into a public ambush. You questioned my relationships, my intentions, my integrity, and you hid behind the excuse of tough questions. Whoopi's voice hit a crescendo. I don't hide behind anything. I've been real from day one. I've earned the right to ask the questions I ask. This is my show. If you don't like it, there's the door. That line hung in the air. Jennifer looked at her, then at the camera, then at the co-hosts, stunned into silence. When she spoke, her voice was calm but carried the full weight of betrayal. You're right. This is your show. And you just showed everyone exactly what kind of show it really is. You've shown that when a woman doesn't say what you want to hear, you tear her down. You've shown that your idea of supporting women is conditional. A long beat. Then Jennifer turned to the camera, her final words hitting with brutal precision. Maybe it's not about being challenged, Whoopi. Maybe it's about not knowing the difference between a conversation and a takedown. And today, everyone saw the difference clear as day. Fade to black. WHOOP. I furious. When they don't fit your agenda, you just walk. Jennifer, eyes blazing. My agenda is truth. My agenda is staying real. My agenda is making sure people don't come on national television and spew nonsense without being challenged. WHOOPI cold. Your agenda is being right no matter who you hurt. Jennifer, voice rising, steady. No, Whoopi. Your agenda is being right at any cost, even if it means steamrolling someone. Even if it means forgetting everything you claim to stand for. You say you support women, but today you showed the world that it's just an act. Atia? The words landed like a slap. Whoopi stood, still trembling, eyes filled with fire. Then she exploded. WHOOPI, roaring, an act. You think this is an act? Everything I've built, everything I've fought for, just an act. How dare you? How dare you sit there and question my authenticity when yours changes with every damn relationship? Jennifer's composure finally cracked. Jennifer, furious, stop. Stop bringing up my personal life. Stop using my past to win an argument you've already lost. WHOOPI, mocking. Lost. I haven't lost anything. You're the one who showed up unprepared. You're the one who can't take the heat. You're the one about to storm out because the questions got too real. Jennifer looked around the studio at the frozen co-hosts, at the camera crew, at the blinking red lights. All eyes were on her. She turned back to Whoopi, her voice suddenly calm, deadly calm. Jennifer, quiet, resolute. I'm not storming out, Whoopi. But I'm not staying to be verbally assaulted either. I came here to talk about working mothers. Instead, I got ambushed by someone more interested in viral drama than real conversation. Whoopi stepped forward, voice low and venomous. Whoopi, then go. Walk out. Show everyone who you really are. Show them that when Jennifer Lopez doesn't get royal treatment, she bails. Jennifer slowly picked up her purse. She stood tall. Jennifer. What I'm showing them is that I have enough self-respect to leave a room where I'm not respected. What I'm showing them is that no woman, no matter how rich, how famous, should have to sit through what you've done to me today. The studio was still silent. Just the faint hum of cameras rolling. Whoopi's chest rose and fell, her fists clenched. Then WHOOP, I hissing, fine. Leave, but don't come crawling back here when you need to promote your next album or movie. Don't expect to sit at this table ever again. Jennifer paused at the edge of the set. Then she turned one last time. Her voice was clear, calm, final. Jennifer, I wouldn't come back here if you paid me. This show used to mean something. It used to lift women up. It used to be about unity, not ego. But you? You've turned it into your personal battlefield where anyone who disagrees gets torn apart. Whoopi's face flushed purple with rage. WHOOP, I screaming, get out. Get out of my studio. Security. Jennifer looked at her with cool contempt. Jennifer, I don't need security, Whoopi. I can walk out with my dignity intact. Can you say the same? She turned and walked away. Every step echoed through the stunned silence. Whoopi shouting after her, "Don't you walk away from me. We're not done here." Jennifer stopped at the studio doors. She didn't turn. Just spoke one last time, her voice echoing with finality. "Jennifer, we were done the moment you chose to attack me instead of listen to me. We were done the second your ego took over the conversation. This has been over for a long time, Whoopi. You're just too angry to see it." And with that, she walked out, leaving behind a set frozen in shock, and a host still shaking with rage. The credits rolled in silence. Whoopi eventually turned to the camera. Voice trembling. "Whoopi, well, I guess we all just saw Jennifer Lopez's true colors. When things get tough, some people run." But the damage was done. The audience had seen everything. The world had watched it unfold. And what they saw didn't tarnish Jennifer Lopez. It exposed Whoopi Goldberg. Because sometimes, when two powerful women collide, only one walks away with her integrity. What did you think of Jennifer's decision to walk off? Was she right to leave, or should she have stayed and fought? Drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned because Hollywood's most explosive moments